I'm Christine Gandia, or Kandi from Kenya. I'm from Endorese Indigenous Community. I work with an organization called Endorese Indigenous Women Empowerment Network, acronym of AUN. I'm the executive director. The formation of this organization was to look at the cross-cutting issues that has continued to marginalize women and persons with disabilities, not only in Endorese community, but within other indigenous communities of Kenya. As an indigenous woman with disability, we face a lot of issues. And that is why somebody like myself was able to think critically about the people who are going through the same challenges. Because for us to be, for someone to identify us, he has to understand different level of marginalization that describe a woman with disability. One is a marginalization because you are an indigenous person. Secondly is because you are a woman, and that one is because you are a woman with disability. Most often, that kind of interconnection or the layers of marginalization, mostly people don't consider those one as a factor that can really continue to marginalize someone. So I'm happy as the director because we've been able to bring our voices all the way from Endorese community to the UN Permanent Forum, share our realities of the issues affecting us at the grassroots, and even share our practice, good stories of languages, transfer, conservation. Endorese community had long struggle for land rights, starting all the way from 1974, because the community was evicted to create room for conservation. Lake Bogoria was declared a conservation zone, and community were told to move because it is one of the tourism destination. It was good for the government to get revenue from the tourism action, and they could not consider our actions as indigenous people that was preserving the area very important. So we had a very long struggle, demanding for our rights, demanding for recognition, and even speaking about the issues that we went through, that we felt it was not considerate, or it was not putting a human rights perspective into place. So we challenged the issues from the local level all the way to African Commission way back in 2003, when we were advised by our lawyers to take the issues to African Commission. And we are happy because there was a determination of such issues by the Commission in 2010. We celebrated and we thought that it was justice being served for the community by the community. But we didn't know that the process was a beginning of a dialogue and even another level of injustice process that has never been realized. Because as I speak at the moment, it is 13 years down the line after we celebrated the outcome of African Commission, that the Kenyan government has never implemented those recommendations like recognition, restitution, payment for damages. By the time we want to believe that we got something, we've engaged in generation and generation of struggle. So that one means that there is a lot of disconnect between different generations, and our work as an organization is to ensure that we have a continued struggle out of these issues. And that is why we came in now to understand different people within our community, that we are not, all of us are not equal. We have special needs, like for indigenous women, for persons with disabilities, for children. How do we engage all of them in the struggle? How do we connect our struggle to them? Thank you. As a community, as Endorese community, we've faced eviction not only by government forces, but also by the impacts of climate change. When I say this is that consequence of climate change, we have rising sea levels, we have rising temperatures, we have like so many other interlinked about the issues of health, maybe scarcity of water and all that. So, but for our community, because we were affected by the Kenyan government to create way for tourism, we had to settle in a neighborhood of Lake Bogoria, not far away from Lake Bogoria. But again, because of the impacts of climate change, we had water, rising water levels of the lake, away again, coming all the way to where we live as a community and again displacing us. So it is very unfortunate that we are seeing these impacts of climate change, that we are not even aware because we are feeling the consequences and we don't know what was the actions or why is it that there is a rise in water levels. Though we are being faced with the consequences, we try to mitigate on the impact on traditional knowledge, on what we do, traditional healing. We do a lot of traditional practices around the Lake Bogoria because we have been told by our elders. We are also trying to document those issues. And again, you know, when you talk about climate change, we are talking about those people who are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And again, because we are an institution that works to empower women and persons with disabilities, we also try to make them understand that they are very vulnerable. We want also to have leadership in them to speak about the issues. So leadership means that we do empowerment, we build their capacities, we make them understand so that they can have voice to speak about those issues, to empower them to continue building their resilience and be able to mitigate or leverage on the loss and damages that the consequences of climate change has imposed on them. So I wish my community to get full reparation for their case that aired in African Commission. We also wish to have a collective movement, not only within our community, but across the region, that is Africa, and even at the globe, that we can connect our struggle. And that is something I want to see in the next years because I believe we have lessons from ourselves that can help other indigenous communities across the world to really learn from our struggle and use our struggle to strengthen themselves. Though I know maybe at this global space, it is very difficult for us to get resources to help us continue the work of self-determination. But I would really wish that to see that mostly resources, because again, being a woman and being a woman with disability, we experiences the disadvantage of not getting resources to continue empowering us, especially resources that can help our organization to be more resilient to unforeseen future events. I wish to see a situation whereby there is a assertive efforts to consider supporting the actions of indigenous women, because in indigenous women and indigenous women with disabilities, you have a whole hub that has knowledge, and they can provide, they can use their leadership to solve the immediate crisis they are facing them. So you know that indigenous communities has been facing extreme marginalization just because they occupy areas that are so dearly to them. And in those areas, in reality, from the legal framework, it is recognized as a unused land. But for us, indigenous community, we are using it for livelihood. So there is a lot of disconnect. And in that regard, it is very important to get resources to indigenous communities, indigenous women, because those resources means empowering them. It will give more strength to speak about those issues. The resources again will also maybe organize them, build power from below. There is the issue of insecurity of land tenure. Climate change is really feeling on us. There's a devastating impact to us, especially our livelihood, our self-determination, and all that. All that would require resources for us to continue building our voices and leadership so that we can be able to tackle on that one. As I've talked about the issues of security land tenure, there is also the issues of carbon credit, which is also coming all the way to our land as indigenous people. So if we don't get resources to indigenous communities directly themselves, it means that we risk losing indigenous land. There is a discussion all about carbon credit and loss and damages, which is really, if we are not strengthening the indigenous community or the indigenous organization, we will lose, we will risk maybe auctioning those indigenous territories to for investors reasons and all that, and interfering. And that one means that we are losing our identity, we are losing our heritage, we are losing our culture, because the land is of importance to us. It connects us to our wellness, to our previous ancestors. It really gives us a room to do our traditional healing and practices, which is so dearly to us. Endurance Indigenous Women Empowerment Network is a loose network for Indigenous persons with disabilities, and we are also trying to be a national voice for Indigenous women. Currently, we did a research on barriers, on rapid response, on barriers for persons with disabilities to access into leadership, and we want to use that outcome now to influence how the policy can framework can be can be changed. And as apart from that one, we also want to strengthen on resource management. So how we can strengthen on resource management, it means that we need to document our ways of doing. We have the biocultural protocols that is in place. We had one, we launched it in 2019, but we realized that in that cultural protocol, we didn't have the voice of women and persons with disabilities. So we want to strengthen on inclusivity and maybe intersectionality. We want to ensure that everyone is on board. In our work as an organization, we are trying to look back. When we look at the back, we identify those groups that are struggling to catch up with the rest of the indigenous movement. So when I look back, I see an indigenous person. When I look back, I see a woman, I see a girl child who is unable to go to school. That is exactly what we do. We help them to catch up with the rest. So indigenous movement and indigenous practices is about not about me, it is about us. And when I say us, everyone is on board. Thank you.